the match, and we're the big fire, because we're all part of the same thing. I mean, after all, we are the products of Judaic history, Judeo-Christian civilization. Western civilization is the Jewish religion, Greek philosophy, Roman law, and then let's play it through the Dark Ages and the Renaissance and the founding of the New World, and this is the civilization that values and made the value of human life the strongest and the most important of any comparable civilization in the world. And it's the one that accomplished more. And they want to destroy it. In fact, you know, you'll hear them yell, "Down with Western civ," or "down with Western culture." They confuse the two. There's a great article really comparing culture and civilization in the New Epic Times, which I recommend to you if you want to go into more detail on this. But if we're going to turn this around, and we're not going to just be sitting here and reacting to how many Jewish kids they kill and how many Jewish people they kill, and then how many more of us they kill. There are a number of things that we have to go in with a big scalpel and just cut this out. And so what do we have to cut out? Well, first of all, we got to take on anti-Semitism the way the president is, what he's doing at Harvard. This isn't a matter of free speech. They can do all the speech that they want, and they have a right to advocate in favor of Palestine or whatever. But now we're getting very, very close to going over the line when we're advocating for Hamas, right? Hamas is a documented terrorist group. Anybody who doubts that just has to look at the films of October 7 or the plans that Hamas had for killing children and killing parents and killing the parents in front of the children, raping women. This was done on purpose. It was done on purpose to get the most out of. They don't have the capacity to kill the numbers of people they'd like to kill, so they killed 1,200. But they did it in a way that would not just shock the conscience, but should have shocked the world. And in fact, I actually thought, again, stupidly naive, whatever, that maybe this would be a turning point. It would reverse what Harris was talking about. They're flipping the script, where the Jews become the oppressors and the terrorists become the oppressed. So they knew it would flip the script. So they overdid it, and they put everything into action. They had communist money. They had Soros money. They had all anti-American money they could find to begin these protests and to do, if you want to look up on the screen, that's Harvard. Stop the genocide in Gaza, Harvard out, occupied Palestine. Now, who occupies Palestine? I mean, that's ignorant. That everybody should sue for their tuition back from Harvard. Nobody occupies Palestine. The Jews got out of Palestine, Israelis, in 2005. Hamas occupies Palestine. Hamas is the dictator of Palestine. Hamas takes the food and lets the people starve in Palestine. Hamas takes the children and puts them in front of them so they'll be killed instead of the leaders of Hamas. That's just reality. I mean, that's just the truth. Cheesy. That's just the truth. And that is what they do at Harvard. That is a communist lies. Ted, we're going to have to charge it. See what it says there? Oh, yeah. Everybody knows now that they're going to come and attack us. We're not even charged properly here.
We had a few tech issues here. We're back on track.
But apartheid? Where's the apartheid? What are they talking about? There are Palestinians in the Israeli government. There are no Jews in the Palestinian government. This is so sick. So we have to cut it out. And part of what's happening with Harvard is to cut out the anti-Semitism. And it's not just Harvard. I mean, Harvard has taken a hardline position because they're so rich and they can. And but there are 59 other colleges that were cited, some of which, I mean, we always thought Columbia was worse. And Ted and I may have been wrong about that, but they're not far behind in terms of hating Jewish people and hating America. And now I was listening to Victor Hanson Davis, and Stanford did away with this Western civilization program 30 years ago. My goodness, my whole college education was built around Western civilization. If you don't learn Western civilization, you don't learn much, because there isn't too much else to learn. Please don't get upset. It just happens to be true. It's the dominant civilization. You know how one animal dominates? Well, Western civilization dominates the world, or did. And it's brought about most of the, like, even the concept of humanities, the study of humanities. Humanities emerged from Western civilization. You know, the thread that runs through it is all about human being, about elevating the human being and trying to get you to understand your worth as a child of God. I mean, the Jews did it because God actually entered into dialogue with his chosen people. We must be pretty important. He can go and give Moses the commandments, and he can guide you out of Egypt, and you must be pretty important. You're made in the image and likeness of God. Then you move on to Christianity, and God becomes man, human, because we're so unusual and our lives are so valuable and so important. And from the beginning with Judaism, thou shalt not kill. Maybe in terms of the intra-human relationships, the most important commandment. I think the most important commandment is there's one God. But all of that, I mean, they tear down Western civilization like they tear down Israel. And we tolerate it. But we have to stop that. Look, they can teach anything they want if they're a private university. We still have to stay with that, and I think that's what makes us different, free speech. But we don't have to pay for it. If Harvard wants to teach hatred of America, then don't take any American money. If they want to teach hatred of a great American ally, then don't take American money. Why the heck should my money be diverted to something I despise? And most Americans don't agree with that. Most Americans don't. You're not going to see that in most of America. My God, you want to see that in the middle? Look at the town in back of me, right? Look at the town. That's just, I think, a mythical, idyllic American town. You think that would take place? Now look at that board. Ted, can we put that on there? You think those animal shits would be allowed to do that there, defile that? No. Go back to the damn desert you come from and follow the religion that tells you to kill Jews and kill Christians. But don't do it here. And we don't have to take you as students, or we don't have to give money to a college that takes you as students. If Harvard wants to serve these animals, fine, serve them. Let them destroy your education. So they're so stupid, they think somebody occupies Palestine, or they can't name the river or the ocean. And there isn't an ocean. It's the Mediterranean Sea, you idiots. God forbid they should know the name of the river, or that Jews have been there for over 2,000 years. You haven't. Palestinian, you don't even exist for more than 100 years. You know that? Of course you don't know that. Because you're not taught anything. You're brainwashed. That piece of crap university is a brainwashing institution. And second, it's more than cooperated with our Chinese communist enemies to spy on us. People have been caught and prosecuted doing that. What the hell is a judge interfering in a foreign policy decision for? Courts have no role in foreign policy. Zero, none. Congress and the president primarily. Gosh, go back to Marshall. Every one of our great Supreme Court justices, Felix Frankfurter, wrote brilliantly on this. And it has to be that way. Courts interpret laws and constitutions. They don't figure out they don't have the information to make decisions about foreign policy. Well, these judges don't have any information. They're dealing with political prejudice. They have to be dealing with some kind of brainwashing of political prejudice to want rapists and murderers to come back. Once we successfully got them out of here, they gotta be crazy. I mean, that judge in what's the guy in Boston's name? I mean, every single person that was sent to South Sudan, and they haven't even gotten there yet, was a vicious, horrible, in many cases perverted, career criminal, violent criminal, who had no business being here in the first place. And the same thing with these students. As the president says, some of them are probably good kids. But this Biden has made it impossible to tell the difference until we straighten this out. He just let everybody in. And they fill these universities with American-hating, Jewish-hating people. So I don't see why we have to fund that. We don't have to fund it. And I don't see where the courts have any right to tell the president that he can't exercise his powers to defend the integrity and the security of the United States. So that's one of the things that we have to do, and we can't back down on it. We have to straighten out our educational institutions because they are perverted from top to bottom. The teachers' union maybe being one of the worst. Communist-inspired, communist-dominated union. Look at the damage they did to our kids during the pandemic. Look at the damage they're doing to our kids now, trying to keep them away from charter schools and private schools and parochial schools and places where where poor kids can get a good education. But let's keep them subjugated. That has to be all taken on, the educational institution. And we've got to take, and that battle has to just be fought. And the president, thank God, isn't backing up one bit on that. And then we've got to deal with the elites and the media. And there we do have a free speech issue. They have a right to say what they want to say with very, very few limits. And there should be very few limits because we can see that can be turned against us, and it was. But there we've got to keep developing all of these new outlets, these new sources of information. You're much better informed now than you were 4 years ago. I was on with Benny Johnson today, and I hope you got to see it. And if you didn't, tell them how they can get it. You could figure that out while I continue to. But this battle with Harvard is not just with Harvard; it's with all these educational institutions at the highest level and at the lowest level. Because these kids get brainwashed from day one to hate our country, which is all part of the hatred of Israel and the hatred of Western civilization. And I mean, it goes deeper than just our country. Well, here's the other issue that is now I think many people are confused by this. So what we've heard is that America wouldn't have any of the great things we have now if it weren't for all the immigrants and foreigners Very few of the Fortune 500 companies were started by Americans. 40% of them were started by immigrants, and if it wasn't for them, we'd be just a pathetic country like China that had to steal other people's inventions. Now, I'm going to try to find a nice way to say this. That's just pure communist propaganda. First of all, very few of the Fortune 500 companies were started by immigrants. Very, very few. In fact, what they're trying to do is confuse first and second generation Americans. With him, I'm a second generation American. A lot of my friends are first generation Americans. They're confusing that with immigrants. There's nothing like 40% started by immigrants. The Fortune 500 companies. It may be 2-3%. They just lie. Now, I want you to consider the following. Before we stopped educating our people, we were doing damn well without illegal immigrants. How many of those people, even that were involved in starting those companies, were illegal immigrants? I don't even remember such thing as illegal immigrants during the great era of immigration, starting with the German and the Jewish and the Irish and the Puerto Rican and the Italian, and go on and on and on. I know I left a lot of people out, please. Indian, whatever. Most of the people that contribute are legal immigrants who follow the system, who had the discipline and the education to follow the system. I'm sorry, a transderogua animal who can hardly read and write is not going to invent a great medicine. In fact, he doesn't care about medicine. He just cares about illegal drugs. That's what they invented. They invented the fentanyl business. What a bunch of nonsense and craziness. We were doing real well when we had a great educational system with immigrants, but immigrants who came here in relatively reasonable numbers with enough time and enough effort so they could assimilate. This country is not great because of immigration. This country is great because of assimilation. If you have immigration and people don't assimilate, you got Sharia law in England, or Sharia law in France, or you got the people in Germany going crazy over the nutty Islamics who want to kill them. So where was it? A car went into a group of people yesterday in London. The first thing they did was, it's a white driver, it's a white driver, it's a white driver, it's a white driver. Because they were afraid, they would assume it was somebody named for the most popular name now in England, Muhammad. Wait a second. This is our civilization, not theirs. Muhammad's the guy that liked to mass kill Jewish people and Christians. Remember? You want to make believe? We can make believe. We can make believe Muhammad is a great figure. We could. I mean, we could make believe, but then go watch MSNBC or NBC or they may not even know. I doubt that any of them have read anything about the history of the 600s and the 700s, and I bet none of them have ever read even a translation of the Quran. They're a bunch of lazy, ignorant, like Tupper Tapadapa, the guy who writes the book about the cover-up, who was the material part of it. This is like John Gotti writing about how bad the mafia is. This guy was one of the biggest cover-up artists that there was, humiliating people who were pointing out the obvious. Look, if you couldn't see as of 2020 that this guy was a blithering, falling apart idiot, you didn't have eyes to see. Nobody falls down going up steps. I honestly have never seen anybody fall down going up steps. Because going down steps, he fell down all the time. Or he turns around, he doesn't know where, I don't know where, I don't know where I am. Where, tell me where I am. Or I saw Roosevelt on television reading the comics. You did? Well, there was no television until Roosevelt, until about 3 years after Roosevelt died. Yeah, and it was LaGuardia who read the comics, and he did it on radio, moron. Now, what do you feel bad for him for? The guy made millions. And the guy is one of the biggest scoundrels in American history. So, we've got to cut off for a while the number of people coming into this country. Oh, we have too many people here right now that we don't know who the hell they are. And our focus has got to be on getting rid of them. We don't know who they are. We have anywhere from 15 to 20 million people that came in under Biden. I have no idea who 80% of them are. We don't know if they're good people or bad people. We know it's a disproportionate number of bad people because of the crimes they're committing. And we know it would naturally and as a matter of logic be more dangerous people because they were just allowed in openly. So the terrorist groups and the criminal groups and the organized crime groups are going to take advantage of that. They wouldn't be very good at their criminal endeavors if they didn't. And that's got to be dealt with. And we have every left-wing judge who thinks he's president trying to stop the president from making this country safe. The people who's the judge in Boston? He's another, of course, if he's from Massachusetts, my God, what the heck is it? There must be something in the air. Harvard, look at that. God almighty, those people take showers. They take showers? That's part of Western civilization too, showers.
We can say from firsthand experience.
How dirty they look.
There's a good number of them that do not shower. We could say that.
Yeah,
having been
on the desert.
Well, having been to these protests, right, in both Columbia and Harvard. Absolutely.
Oh boy.
Oh, you betcha.
Yeah, well, you got the smartest ones of all, the two girls. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, we got the real geniuses.
Yeah, you got the real geniuses. What are we here for? Well, there was something going on here down there. They're up at 4. Something going on down here. Well,
What brings you out tonight?
I'm here to support the NYU students protesting for Palestine.
Are you an NYU student?
I'm not, I'm a Fordham student.
Fordham, okay. And what would you say is the main goal with tonight's protest?
I think the goal is just showing our support for Palestine and demanding that NYU stops. I honestly don't know all of what NYU is doing.
Is there something that NYU is doing?
I really don't know. I'm pretty sure do you know what NYU is doing? About what? About Israel. Why are we protesting here?
Palestine will be free!
I wish I was more educated. I'm not either.
Oh.
I came from Columbia. I was there up at Columbia.
They actually are better informed than most. They're from Fordham.
Oh, Mayor, I know that crushed you.
That crushed you inside.
I mean, if they were from Manhattan College, they wouldn't be like that. But they were.
Oh, sorry. I made that mistake with you again. I think of you as a Fordham man.
Yeah, the Jesuits were making it up.
You're Manhattan College.
Jesuits were making it up for years. Look how the Pope worked out.
Yeah.
Look how the Jesuit Pope worked out. He was really good. It'd be the real question as to which church he was really working for.
Right.
The Church of China or the Church of. I mean, there's a real discussion going on right now.
Oh, we were fought. Yeah.
About
That's
China
concerning.
Because first of all, there are several bishops in jail in China. And there are several bishops appointed by China, not the Vatican. Now, what kind of Roman Catholic bishop is appointed by? I mean, I took a lot of things out of my Catholic education. You know, what one of the main one was complete disdain for communism, and a real understanding of it because we really studied it a lot. Now, to see the Vatican doing business with China and sacrificing the appointment of bishops because they're afraid that other bishops, other Catholics will get killed. That's what it means to be a Catholic, to get killed. Almost every one of the first 20 popes was killed. because he wouldn't do the equivalent of let China appoint the bishops. He wouldn't let Rome dominate. And that's how the religion emerged. That's why people admired them. That's why a whole world turned to them. I really do think this Pope gets it because he's an American. I do. He might not get all of it, but he certainly gets the communism part. A couple of things he said about China the other day that were very, very encouraging. But so, I mean, you can go to the two people that were killed on, what was it, last week, right? Or the attack that was being planned on the U.S., they say the U.S. embassy, but it's the U.S. diplomatic facility in Tel Aviv. Or we could go right down to school bus driver gives kids anti-Jew rant. A school bus driver at a Brooklyn charter school pulled off the road and held the children captive while he went into an anti-Semitic rant in which he made one kid cry with a lecture that claimed the Jews killed Jesus. These kids go to the Brooklyn Prospect International Elementary Charter School. The only one who can deliver you isn't religion, it's Jesus, the bus driver said. They don't give the name of the bus driver, but I mean, Jesus knows who he is. Jesus died a Jew. Idiot. Also, very, very complicated how Jesus was killed. And all of his followers were Jewish. And he was actually killed by the Romans. But why should that fact interfere with this sick 2,000-year? But look, I mean, it gets right down to that, or on the level of those two wonderful kids who actually were thinking about how they could fix things in Palestine. There's only one way to fix things in Palestine: get Hamas out and get a lot of the Palestinians out, because they've been warped from the day they were born to hate you. Hate me too. Now we have this other guy, Hassan Piker. Do you know who Hassan Piker is, Ted? Hassan Piker.
I do not.
Hassan Piker has how many people? 2.8 million followers on Twitter or Twitch. Twitch is different than Twitter, right?
Right.
What the hell is Twitch? Is that another Chinese
it's
operation?
I don't believe so. It's for gamers primarily.
So he
we're on Twitch.
We are. Well, let's get off. This guy. Well, no, actually, no. I'm wrong. I really want to make a different point here. This guy immediately went on right after the two young people were killed, and he said that it was a false flag operation, meaning that either we or the Israelis really killed these kids. That this is Hassan Piker, and he was taken off Twitch, but then he was reinstated in 24 hours, and now he's gloating. He's I lived, bitch, he said. Now, I think, personally, I think you have to let him speak. You just have to make sure you constantly point out who he is, what he's doing, how he's lying.
Oh, I do.
In order,
I've seen him.
In order to criminally prosecute somebody for speech, it has to be the point where they really lead you right into the violence. Because otherwise, and we learned this lesson when the Biden animals were in charge, right? So yeah, you got to put up with this creep. Doesn't mean you have to listen to him. And this is where we have to learn to use our economic power the way we did when we were dealing with that beer company. Also, I really think it is time to invest a tremendous amount of money in an educational campaign that uses all of these ways of reaching people that we have now to teach people the history of anti-Semitism, so they understand it. They understand what they're dealing with. To combat the flipping of the script, as Harris said, and also to teach them American history because they don't learn it in school. We have this great resource. We spend a tremendous amount of money sending condoms to Malaysia or wherever the hell we sent the condoms, right? Or doing social engineering in Mali, or what were some of the things that we spent money on?
Yeah.
I mean, you know, all that we didn't spend money on.
Yeah.
You know, that's all graft.
Condoms. In
That's
some
all,
of these
that's
other
all
countries, tens of millions.
K Street and international
Yeah.
bribery.
Yeah, that's a good point, Mayor. So you almost don't.
About 90% of that silly stuff never even happened.
Right.
Nobody bought 1 million condoms.
Right.
That money went to, they whacked it up with whoever on K Street was representing them, and the companies and the foreign people. And that's how the cash flows, right? And they do it through, NGOs. They're filled with great principles and ideas. It's like the biggest con job in the world.
Nonprofits.
It's the way Soros got a lot of the money he uses to destroy us.
Absurd.
So I love the idea they're going to take the $3 billion and give it to trade schools. At least somebody learned something.
Right. Right. Like a useful.
Look, Harvard has every. It's ridiculous when they argue. Harvard has every right to exist, and we have every right not to give it money.
Right.
It's as simple as that. I don't know where these judges are coming up with an interference really with the president's ability to conduct foreign policy. The Air Force, and I'm glad they're putting some of this information out. We need this because our people are worried. The Air Force back in April, very quietly, flew a Nemesis to Bataan. Bataan is where one of the great battles of the Pacific War took place. It's an island that MacArthur had to abandon, among others, and go back to Australia. And then in his march back to Japan, it's an island that we took back. In fact, there's a great movie about our Marines taking back Bataan. Bataan happens to be an island with a lot of mountains. So we have an Air Force C-130 transport plane, which is the same ones that delivered the bunker buster bombs to Israel, that are just waiting. I mean, they're going to get stale if we don't start using them to bomb Iran, Mr. President. Come on. Let's get those damn nuclear things out of there, and we can all sleep better at night. And maybe the Ayatollah, be a shame if the Ayatollah got hit with one of them as a collateral damage. That would be just terrible. It would. I mean, we would say nothing. That's what we would do, right? So
very quiet.
Bataan is 120 miles directly south of Taiwan, and it has very high mountains. Now, what is the Nemesis? And it's spelled NMESIS, the Navy Marine Expeditionary Ship Interdiction System. Now, this is a launcher, and it's a mobile launcher, and it's a mobile state-of-the-art launcher of ballistic missiles and other devices, drones, whatever. It also, rather than necessarily going in the air, it can go like a bomb or a missile from a submarine. You can deposit it into the water. They can't find it. And it's within shooting distance of every lane that China would use to go to Taiwan. And it is, hopefully they haven't stolen it from us. So now the Marines can shoot these high precision missiles from land, from ship, and they can install these in the mountains of Bataan. And they're remote. So the system can be here, and the people operating can be 5-10 miles away. And you can move the system every day, which is one of the things we're running into in Yemen, because the Houthis have a much less sophisticated mobile launchers, which is why we're spending so much time bombing them. It's not like in Iran where they're stationary. And so let's get rid of what Iran has before they decide to develop something like that.
Nemesis.
Nemesis is
That's it on the screen here.
It's spelled NMESIS in order to.
It's a system, so it's the trucks, it's the equipment.
Yeah. This is. I mean,
They're
this
showing them right now on the screen.
This thing could cost $500 million. I mean, these are not.
This is it in action right here.
So you can stick that in a mountain. You see that little truck there? You can stick that in a mountain. And it will launch a missile that goes somewhere around 150 miles. Now, theoretically, eventually it'll be even more. But that's enough to get to all the shipping lanes going from China to Taiwan. Gee, I wonder why it's there. I wonder why it's there. That Biden probably wouldn't know. Oh, well, its operators work from a distance based in 2 support vehicles. They have they placed them outside the line of fire of anyone trying to take out the launchers. And they keep moving it. So you've got to guess where they are. And they are, those things are put in the caves in a mountain. That's why they use baton. It's hard to find, the general in charge of the Marine Regiment said. No kidding. You keep the other side guessing, and that creates the uncertainty. In a way, it also creates a deterrent effect. Look, Xi Jinping is extremely worried about attacking Taiwan just based on what the Taiwanese have done to secure themselves. If he knows these things might be used to take every one of his ships out of the water, he'll be thinking about it. Hopefully we won't have to use it. That's why you have it. Military recruitment had been at the lowest level since the war under the traitor that was the president for 4 years, who hated the military, and they all knew it. Do you know that last year it was at the greatest that it's been since the war? That's like the turnaround. That's like the turnaround at the border, right? This guy at the height had 3.7 million people coming in illegally. Trump is going to be possibly below 100,000. Right now, I think it's at 7,000. I mean, that's ridiculous. And Biden kept saying, you have to give me the legislation. You got to give me the legislation to do it. What legislation did they give? All they gave Trump is a bunch of judges trying to stop him. We don't have any legislation. His Politburo couldn't figure out how to do it. It's great. I mean, I think, do they call it the Politburo in Tapadapper's book?
That's fine. I don't know.
They called it yesterday in one of the articles, that group around him.
It's a good name
the
for
first
him.
stepmother and Hunter. And
That's one name for him.
imagine they're the ones who decided on the Afghan evacuation. I'd like to get the person who gave the Bagram Air Base away, 400 miles from China.
Yeah,
I'd like to get him and execute. Well, I guess I couldn't execute him, but I'd like to put him in jail for the rest of his life as a traitor to the United States. Why would you give up an air base 400 miles from China unless you were a traitor? I mean, maybe I'm too simplistic. So we still have a little rebuilding to do. In 1985, the greatest president in the 20th century gave 5.7% of the GDP to defense. And it scared the living daylights out of the Soviet Union, and bye-bye Soviet Union, and freedom for all of Eastern Europe. We're at 3.2% of GDP now. And that's why we have got to deal with our deficit, and we've got to deal with our financial problem. We added $2 billion in unnecessary spending from the day of the pandemic. $2 trillion of unnecessary spending. That's 50% increase in our budget. That's got to be cut. And it's easy to cut. It's all garbage. It's all Democrat giveaways. And like when they say we're cutting Medicaid, how much would you estimate of Medicaid spending is fraudulent? What would you say?
Oh,
The cut is about 2% of Medicaid. You think it's more than 2%?
yeah.
Of course it is.
Yeah.
20, 30.
I was gonna say a third. I don't know if I heard that number somewhere or, but a third. It just
Come on,
seems
you
so
do- you
absurd,
do-
right?
you
A
do-
third. That seems
Yeah,
absurd.
you're dealing with it.
But
even
it's
if
huge.
they're not stealing the money, they're all lazy, stupid people
Yeah.
that are managing it. Who are at home. Most of them are at home. You think they pay attention to our money? All they care about is, God forbid, Trump wants them to come into work. These are the people who are.
That's a
not
good
all
point.
of them, but 20% of them, 30% of them, 40%. We haven't cut 30, 40% of them. I mean,
it's supposed to be.
having run an absolutely non-functioning government for a while, where books were written that New York couldn't be governed before I became mayor, I'm an expert at this. I could have done without half the New York City government, except for the police department and fire department. Honestly, and we've done fine. I got rid of 8, 9, 10,000, but never got rid of what I should have. I had a Democratic city council, but I still ended up with a balanced budget and a surplus. They don't even know what Democrats don't even know what a surplus is. They have no idea what that. I say if I went to Adams right now and the city's budget is ridiculous. The city's budget now for 8 million people is more than the entire budget of the state of Florida for 22 million people. It's more. And the state of New York is 2.5 times Florida, and that has 3 million less people. So imagine all the stealing that's going on. If I said surplus, they wouldn't even know what I meant. I'd have to write it out on one of my whiteboards. Surplus. That's what you have when you take in more money than you spend. Oh, we never did that. We've been Democrats for 150 years. We've been, stealing money for all that time. Why would we want to do that? There's our chance to get rich. We're in government, like all the congressmen do, right? They come in, they're worth nothing, and they leave, and they're worth a few million or a lot of millions.
Like tens of millions.
Some of them, yeah.
It's absurd.
So enlistment has gone up, but only 23% of American youths can meet the enlistment requirement without a waiver.
Oh, what's the percentage?
23% of American youth can
Yikes.
meet the enlistment requirements. It's because of obesity, but more importantly, it's
culture.
Mentally unable to deal with the rigors of the mental, both cognitive and emotional.
Culture.
Yeah, how about being drug addicts?
Yeah. Bad parents.
Yeah.
And culturally, we're just rotting.
Yeah.
But then I feel like
However,
there's a physical issue too.
If it's 23%, that's still 23% is still millions and millions of people, more than enough to fill out our army.
Yeah, the warrior class, I would say that would be considered high, right? Yeah, 23%.
You see that group at West Point that the president was talking to?
Yeah,
I listened to that whole speech.
Central casting, those guys.
I listened to the whole speech.
Uniforms.
Man, it was a great speech.
West Point.
It got me all ready for Memorial Day.
Yeah, that was a great speech, and you could tell the president was really in his element.
So it's time to start a major investigation called the RICO cover-up investigation. Racketeer Influence Corrupt Organization.
I think I know a guy who has some experience with RICO.
And I would say, get my book. I would say it should, and get me I'm gonna write this out while we take a short break, okay? I'm gonna write this out. But you see what you can do? You can listen to all these cover-ups. There was a great article by the wonderful and magnificent Miranda Devine, who without whom I would never have gotten the Post to publish the hard drive. She won't admit it. She's got a whole bunch of people that helped her. And there are actually, I shouldn't say that, about 5 of them at the Post. Because the boss didn't want to publish it. Rupert has banned me from Fox. I can't go on Fox. And I saved the damn network for him, but I can't go on Fox. They won't let me on Fox. Probably made that deal with Dominion. Want to bet? How much you want to bet? Oh, I don't bet. I forgot, right? I don't bet, right?
We're not betters. I stopped betting when I started working with you.
I
mean,
told
used
you had to
small
start
amounts,
betting.
$10 here, $10 there, not much.
It's time for a funny story. So one of my heroes, as you know, well, one of my heroes, personal family heroes, is my uncle, for whom I have the same name, Rudolph. His name was Rudolph Giuliani. And my uncle was a veteran of the Second World War. He was shot out of his aircraft carrier. He was a gunner on an aircraft carrier. He was missing for 4 days. He has a Navy decoration, and he was under the age of 18 when he enlisted. I had another uncle who was behind enemy lines in the Pacific for 3 years. And they actually knew he was alive, but they couldn't get him because when MacArthur retreated, we still left troops on some of the islands. And we just hoped the Japanese wouldn't come and take them. So he was there for 3 years. And luckily, the Japanese didn't come and blow up all the Americans on the island. All the Americans were like about 300. So my uncle, Rudy, was at this point about 85 years old. He had been a New York City police officer for 27 years. He had been with the emergency services for 15 of those years. He was kind of a legend. He had taken 3 people down from the top of the Brooklyn Bridge, one of them on the last day of service, and I have that medal. His daughter gave it to me. And when I became mayor, he was retired at this point. Afterwards, he had, like many, done security work for several large buildings, and he was having a great time. He had a girlfriend with whom he traveled all around the world. He was in terrific shape. He when he was young, he was about 6'3". Even older, he was about 6'1". At 83 or 84, he probably looked like he was 70. And then he fell downstairs and broke his back. And he died in 4 months. This was all during the time that the Giants were on their way to the last Super Bowl they won. And my uncle, like me, is an insane New York football Giant fan, but he is a bettor. So when I first went to see him in the hospital, the Giants were on their way to like a 5 or 6 game winning streak that led them to defeating the Patriots in the Super Bowl. And my uncle said to me, pulled me over to the side, and he said, "You know, I bet on the games." I said, "Yeah, I know. You shouldn't really." He said, "Yeah, I bet here." He gave me a number of his bookie, right? It was illegal then. And he gave me $100, and he said, "Put this on the Giants." I said, "Uncle Rudy," and he looked at several of my cousins, and he said, a couple of times they forgot, or they didn't put the money down. And, "You're much more responsible. I'm going to give it to you." I said, "Uncle, I don't bet." He said, "Come on. What is it going to? You're not the mayor anymore." So I took the money, and I thought about calling the bookie, and I can't do that. I can't do it. I mean, this is ridiculous. Here I was, the prosecutor, and a book. I'm going to call some sleazy bookie. Probably, was related to Fat Tony Salerno or something. I used to. You know what I used to do on the day before Super Bowl Sunday? We would raid all the bookie joints. It was great. We used to make all kinds of arrests, collect all kinds of money, because you get to keep the money. We'd come and take all their money. And then Fat Tony used to curse me. And so I said, "Okay, what is going to be $200 or $300 or?" So the Giants won. So I don't know. I had to go give him like $300. So I gave him $300, and the Giants won again. I gave him a couple of $1,000 out of my own pocket because I wouldn't go to the boogie, and I was embarrassed to tell him. He said, whatever his name was, Carmine. What did Carmine say? "Oh, Carmine, you're taking a fortune from Carmine." Like, great. Well, we're gonna take a short break. U.S. Army Major Scott Smiley paid a high price serving our nation. Scott was leading his platoon in Iraq when a blast sent shrapnel through his eyes, leaving him blind and temporarily paralyzed. Scott would become the first blind active duty military officer before medically retiring years later. Thanks to friends like you, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation gave Scott and his family a mortgage-free, specially adapted smart home. Show your support for America's heroes now. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers.
Are you ready for some action?
I'm ready for action.
Get the Elite TV plan only through the portal, 218 channels, and it's only $69.95 a month,
Wow.
including your free portal.
That's cheaper than everyone else.
Your favorite sports, movies, news,
Wow.
even daytime dramas. We're talking about ESPN, OAN, Newsmax,
Wow.
channels you can't get anymore in certain areas.
Compared to the competition, this is a way better deal.
Endless selection. Not to mention all the free music channels. There's over 700 premium and classic movies all ready to go.
Wow.
Plus, they got catch-up TV that allows you to go back and watch what you've missed or want to watch again. Cut your cable in half and get twice as much for free.
Way more channels for half the cost.
After the first year, the subscription then drops to $57.95 monthly,
Wow.
where you change or upgrade anytime. Go to QUXNow.com and get yours today. Use promo code RUDY.
Here we are, pretty much at the beginning of the process here at this pristine, I call it a laboratory. It's not like a factory, it's like a hospital. This is the beginning of the process for roasting. Deep grain, very good quality. Most people don't use this quality. We deal with small farmers because they like to know who we're dealing with. They give us the highest quality, all organic, non-GMO. You should know all Arabica beans, no Robusto, all Arabica. They're gonna go into the roaster and it'll get roasted for about 20 minutes or so. Oh my goodness, look at these. My goodness. You're going to want to specially order these. This is what goes into Rudy's coffee. So I'm here writing out all of the cover-ups. Okay. Well, you know the two main ones that have come out recently, like covering up the fact that he was demented, which we know from the hard drive and from Hunter's own words. We can place as early as 2019. We don't have to, you know, say, oh, gee, we saw him in the White House, you know, falling down, going up the steps, or thinking that the dead congresswoman was still there in the audience, even though she had just died 3 days earlier and he couldn't remember, or his saying that he liked little children touching the hair on his legs, or what the heck was all about with his daughter's, what was it, her diary where she took showers with him?
Ashley or Naomi or
Well, no, it was Ashley who took the showers with him when she was a kid.
right in the
Yeah,
diary.
I mean,
the diary.
yeah. We're talking about not just a
Page 143 in your book.
page 143 makes it clear that Hunter and his psychiatrist knew that he was demented in 2019. I want you to think of the date, 2019, January 2019. This is in the hard drive, the one that was suppressed. The one that 51 intelligence agents said was Russian disinformation and lie. That's another whole cover-up. There's another whole RICO. See, RICO is like a criminal enterprise, and then you can charge all the crimes they committed. So, criminal enterprise, Joe is at the top, the first stepmother, the deranged, derelict drug addict son, the two brothers that were small-time little crooks when Joe first became a senator, and they were scrounging around for cheap little bribes. And then they became big time guys.
Yeah.
Right. They were in partnership with the number 2 and number 3 guy in China. But they pulled in $31 million from China. These little scumbag brothers. Huh? And the sister-in-law got some of it. It's all documented. I mean, it's not like and then we had Republican congressmen investigating this. They never even. I mean, Comer. What was Comer doing?
Oh, writing a book.
But how does he miss these?
Hosting a press conference.
How do you miss these things? Like, do you get drunk or something? Here, this is right out of the hard drive. Tell me how this doesn't jump out at you. We're all saying, this has been available, by the way, since January of, this has been available since almost a few months after they said this, because the hard drive was obtained a few months after this. But here's what it says. This is in January 2019. Okay, this is before he announced his candidacy, way before he was president. Keith Ablow. Keith Ablow, we describe here as a controversial psychiatrist. That's a nice description. Keith Ablow, talking about Biden. Does he recall the details, though, with the dementia and all? Hunter, not much these days. But since it's all fake news anyway, I don't see the problem. Ablow, is he a go for sure running? Hunter, according to inside sources, which I can neither confirm nor deny, he's in it to win it. He's a poet. Ablow, any man who can triumph over dementia is a giant. Think what he could do for our nation's needed recovery, Dr. Keith Ablow. Hunter, you're such an asshole, but that made me laugh out loud. Ablow, perhaps he can help us remember all we intended to be as people, since he now can't remember his address. I want to be Surgeon General. Hunter, he doesn't need to know where he lives, Keith. That's the only thing the Secret Service get right at least 75% of the time. They knew he was a non-compass menace way before, a year before he became president. And then it just got worse and worse and worse and worse. And you tell me that isn't tantamount to treason. Letting that man, and think of all the people he killed or had killed because of incompetence. The Politburo was made up of a bunch of who knows what, and they're the ones who made the brilliant decision to evacuate Afghanistan and take, I've always wanted to know, and the press doesn't even pursue this. Even the conservative press doesn't pursue it. How do you take the troops out before the civilians? You have Americans and you have Afghanis who helped us for 20 years, who put their lives at risk to save us. If you got 4 major terrorist groups that are already, as soon as Trump left, nobody died in Afghanistan, by and large, when Trump was president. They just stopped. It was a stop. As soon as Biden came in, they started killing people again because they knew Biden was useless. So you know you've got these 4 terrorist groups in the country. You know you've had these people that helped you against those terrorist groups. And you know they're going to kill them. And you take the troops out first so that civilians can get killed. Don't you evacuate the civilians first? I don't even know if that's true. I don't know what that is. But I'm going to tell you the one I do know what it is. We had an air base there. It was our most sophisticated air base in Asia, our biggest. It was 400 miles from China. Wow. That's in your dreams, 400 miles from China, right? How about it was 500 miles from Russia and 400 miles from Iran? I don't know. The only thing missing is Cuba, right? Or not that far from North Korea either. You couldn't pick a better spot. Biden gave it up for nothing. Oh, no, actually paid for it. He left $85 billion worth of equipment there for the terrorists to use to kill Americans. Now, what the hell is that? He wasn't influenced by the $21 million his family got in the 4 years prior from China? Giving up Bagram? Or the little Politburo wasn't, since the first stepmother and the degenerate drug addict got a lot of that money? Or what about never pursuing all the people that China killed over COVID? We know they sent Chinese people around to kill us and to kill people in Europe. Never did anything about that. Fentanyl went up to record levels under Biden. There's probably more fentanyl deaths under Biden than most of the other American presidents combined. all from China. Never did anything about it. Never did anything about COVID. He stopped the program that investigated the internal Chinese spies, the ones that led to the prosecution of people at Harvard who were spying for China. He stopped it 6 months into office. That's not a quid pro quo for the 21 million. Well, I mean, these are the things that should be investigated. And they can all be investigated. And okay, maybe Joe can't be prosecuted now because he doesn't know who he is. But there are about 20 people that can be prosecuted for this. So I hope that Pam Bondi and Kash Patel are taking care of this for us. Because these are important investigations, and there's a lot more. We can go into them, we can go into them tomorrow. A whole bunch of other investigations. But the bribery investigation of Biden, which is solidly supported by another admission by Hunter, which is golden. This is what you would consider just unbelievably, unusually strong evidence. When you have a co-conspirator explaining the conspiracy to you, Hunter Biden says at around the same time on the hard drive, for 30 years, I had to give half my income to my father. Half his income, just conservatively, is about $30 million to his father. And all of it came from foreign sources. And half of them were enemies of the United States. Now you tell me what that is. And you tell me how you get away with that. And why would we let them get away with it? Well, we're afraid of being accused of vindictive. That isn't vindictiveness, that's justice and deterrence. It's the reason we have criminal law. The reason we have a civilization. If men were angels, we wouldn't need government, wouldn't need laws. That's not me, that's James Madison. Well, we'll be back tomorrow. We'll keep following what's going on with the FBI. I wanted to show you. We'll show it tomorrow night. Macron getting slapped around by his wife.
Oh, we gotta
Little sissy boy.
We have to show that. We gotta show
Yeah,
that.
yeah, but we want to go see the Knicks.
Oh,
We want to put the Knick game on because they're of the magic comeback they had the other night playing defense. All of a sudden,
we were watching
out of nowhere, they're playing defense. Awesome defense.
Yeah, we were all watching
And
different
Towns
locations.
took over.
Towns, the big man. We'll see if they have some more magic up their sleeves.
It's amazing how sometimes these basketball players. It's like the first night when Indiana couldn't miss three. Made 10.
They missed
3-point shots.
The same
in a
guy
row.
made 6 in a row.
Yeah, I mean, every time the ball would go up, boom,
Right.
boom, 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 boom.
Right,
Then last night, they scored only 40 points in the second half.
right. All the away team has won every game. This is game 4 in Indianapolis.
Well, we're going to do it
history.
tomorrow night because we want everybody to watch. the
Okay.
Knicks.
Okay. So get over there and
So-
watch those Knicks.
Just make sure now that you pray for the people of Israel and the people of Ukraine and the people of Iran. And of course, pray for us and for the president that he makes the right decisions. We all need help. Thank you, dear God. And we'll see you tomorrow night at 7 on Lindell TV and then right here on America's Mayor Live at 8. God bless America. And tomorrow's my birthday, so you got to tune in. It's our purpose to bring to bear the principle of common sense and rational discussion to the issues of our day. America was created at a time of great turmoil, tremendous disagreements, anger, hatred. There was a book written in 1776 that guided much of the discipline of thinking that brought to us the discovery of our freedoms, of our God-given freedoms. It was Thomas Paine's Common Sense, written in 1776, one of the first American bestsellers, in which Thomas Paine explained, by rational principles, the reason why these small colonies felt the necessity to separate from the Kingdom of Great Britain and the King of England. He explained their inherent desire for liberty for freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, the ability to select the people who govern them. And he explained it in ways that were understandable to all the people, not just the elite. Because the desire for freedom is universal. The desire for freedom adheres in the human mind, and it is part of the human soul. This is exactly the time we should consult our history. Look at what we've done in the past and see if we can't use it to help us now. We understand that our founders created the greatest country in the history of the world, the greatest democracy, the freest country, a country that has taken more people out of poverty than any country ever. All of us are so fortunate to be Americans. But a great deal of the reason for America's constant ability to self-improve is because we're able to reason, we're able to talk, we're able to analyze. We are able to apply our God-given